Imagine, if you will, a world where every waking moment is devoted to the pursuit of pleasure, an existence carefully crafted to satisfy every craving, every fleeting desire. The promise of endless gratification seems, at first glance, like the ultimate form of liberation. But is it truly freedom, or merely another form of enslavement? Aldous Huxley, in his prophetic work, Brave New World, unveils a reality where humanity has willingly exchanged its autonomy for the comfort of pleasure. No chains, no visible oppression, only an intoxicating illusion that numbs the soul and renders resistance unnecessary. The drug soma ensures perpetual contentment, yet beneath this artificial bliss lies a deep existential void. And so, we must ask, does our modern world differ greatly from Huxley's vision? The ever-present hum of notifications, the hypnotic scroll of social media, are these not today's equivalent of soma? What appears as connection and engagement often masks an unconscious surrender. The algorithms that shape our digital experiences do not merely entertain, they condition us, subtly shaping our desires, reinforcing habitual behaviors, and keeping us within a cycle of endless craving. Psychologists such as Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi have explored the nature of deep engagement, yet they also warn of the seductive power of passive consumption. Pleasure, when pursued without consciousness, leads not to fulfillment, but to dependency. Consider how often you reach for your phone, seeking a fleeting moment of joy, only to emerge hours later, feeling drained rather than enriched. This is the essence of what psychology terms the hedonic treadmill, the unending pursuit of happiness, where each pleasure soon loses its luster, forcing us to seek the next fix, and then the next, in a futile cycle of diminishing returns. But the question remains, if pleasure can be a form of bondage, what then is true freedom? To break these hidden chains, we must turn inward, toward self-awareness and individuation, the lifelong process of integrating our conscious and unconscious selves. The key is not the rejection of pleasure, but the cultivation of a deeper relationship with it, one that is rooted in meaning, not mere distraction. In this journey, we shall explore how to reclaim our autonomy, stepping beyond the illusion of gratification toward a more profound and authentic existence. Let us begin. This is not merely an abstract dilemma. It is a reality deeply ingrained in the modern psyche. Research has revealed a troubling correlation between the rise of technological conveniences and a decline in mental well-being. A 2020 study published in the Journal of Affective Disorders found a direct link between excessive screen time, especially on social media, and increasing levels of anxiety and depression. Yet, the paradox is striking. The more we suffer from disconnection and dissatisfaction, the more we seek solace in the very mechanisms that perpetuate our distress. What is the true cost of this relentless pursuit of pleasure? Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust and the author of Man's Search for Meaning, argued that true fulfillment is not found in the chase for happiness, but in the discovery of purpose. He observed that when individuals lack meaning in their lives, they often turn to distractions attempting to fill an inner void with fleeting pleasures. Yet, this pursuit only deepens the emptiness, for pleasure alone cannot provide the structure the psyche requires for wholeness. Ask yourself, are you living with purpose? Or have you unconsciously allowed the pursuit of pleasure to dictate your existence? This is not merely a philosophical question, it is a profoundly practical one. Each day we stand at a crossroads. Should we lose ourselves in passive entertainment or engage in meaningful experiences? Should we succumb to the numbing allure of endless scrolling or invest in personal growth and authentic relationships? Huxley once wrote, "Most human beings have an almost infinite capacity for taking things for granted. And herein lies the danger. In our fixation on instant gratification, we risk overlooking the deeper dimensions of life love, creativity, self-discovery, and the contribution to something greater than ourselves. These are the elements that nourish the soul, yet they are often sacrificed at the altar of convenience and distraction. The insight we must grasp is this: pleasure, when pursued without awareness, does not liberate, it enslaves. But these chains are not made of iron. They are woven from habit, craving, and unconscious compulsion. To break free, we must awaken to our own patterns, reclaiming our autonomy by shifting from mere consumption to conscious creation. Only then can we move beyond the fleeting and toward the eternal, forging a life of depth, meaning, and true psychological freedom. Let us now take this journey inward. As we proceed on this path of self-inquiry, consider this. Are you truly free, or have you become a mere consumer in a world that profits from your desires? Reflect on this question, for the answer holds the key to understanding the hidden mechanisms that shape not only society, but also the very fabric of your psyche. What lies ahead will challenge not just how you perceive the world, but how you perceive yourself. Imagine a vast marketplace where the most valuable currency is not gold, nor oil, nor technology. It is you. In this system, your attention is a commodity, and every moment spent scrolling, clicking, or consuming is not simply an act of engagement, but a transaction in which you are both the buyer and the product being sold. Welcome to the attention economy, a structure designed to exploit your deepest instincts, binding you in an endless cycle of craving and reward. To comprehend the extent of this control, we must turn to biology. Neuroscientist Dr. Robert Sapolsky, known for his work on dopamine and stress, has illuminated how the brain is wired for reward-seeking. Each pleasurable experience triggers the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter that reinforces behaviors, drawing us back toward the source of gratification. Whether it is the fleeting satisfaction of social media validation, the thrill of an impulsive purchase, or the surge of victory in a digital game, each instant strengthens the cycle of compulsion. But here lies the paradox. The anticipation of pleasure often generates more dopamine than the pleasure itself. We do not merely seek reward, we become addicted to the possibility of it. This is why we anxiously check for messages, compulsively refresh our feeds, and lose ourselves in the pursuit of an elusive satisfaction that remains just beyond our grasp. And so, the attention economy turns us into restless seekers, forever yearning but never fulfilled. Jungian psychology teaches us that true liberation does not come from indulging desire, but from integrating it, understanding its hold over us, and consciously choosing how we engage with it. If we remain unconscious of these forces, we are led by them. But if we bring them into awareness, we regain our autonomy. The question now is, will you continue to be a prisoner of unseen forces, or will you take the first step toward reclaiming your own mind? The journey inward begins now. Pause for a moment and observe yourself. How often do you reach for your phone without conscious intent, as if compelled by an unseen force? How often do you crave something, a snack, a video, a fleeting moment of validation, only to be left feeling strangely empty once it is obtained? These are not random occurrences. They are the result of meticulously engineered experiences designed to capture and sustain your attention. Tristan Harris, a former Google design ethicist, has exposed how digital platforms exploit human psychology through intermittent variable rewards, a mechanism borrowed from slot machines. Like gamblers drawn to the next unpredictable payout, we too become conditioned to seek the next notification, the next update, the next rush of digital affirmation. This is not merely a matter of personal willpower, it is a systemic design. And here we return to Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. In his dystopian vision, the pursuit of pleasure was not an individual failing, but a societal mechanism of control. The populace, lost in indulgence, had no desire to resist because they no longer recognized that resistance was necessary. They were not bound by visible chains, but by their own unexamined desires. Are we so different today? We may not be consuming soma, but we are saturated with digital distractions that serve the same function: to pacify, to numb, to ensure compliance through passive contentment. The more we are engrossed in trivial pleasures, the less we question, create, or challenge the forces that shape our lives. But why does this matter? Because the unchecked pursuit of pleasure does not simply waste time, it steals potential. Every moment spent chasing fleeting gratification is a moment not spent in meaningful growth, deep learning, or authentic contribution. The mind, instead of expanding, contracts. The will, instead of strengthening, atrophies. Cal Newport, in his book Deep Work, warns of this very danger. He argues that our engagement with shallow, easily consumed content erodes our capacity for deep focus, the very ability required for mastery, innovation, and true fulfillment. The highest rewards in life, he asserts, are not found in effortless pleasure, but in sustained effort and meaningful endeavor. Jungian psychology would frame this as the battle between the conscious self and the unconscious forces that seek to dominate it. To remain unaware of these influences is to be controlled by them, but to bring them into the light of awareness, to recognize when we are being manipulated, is the first step toward reclaiming our autonomy. The question then is not merely whether we are distracted. The question is, who do we become when we allow ourselves to be ruled by distraction? The answer lies ahead. Pause and consider. How much of your existence is devoted to pursuits that genuinely enrich your soul? How often do you surrender to the lure of immediate satisfaction at the expense of long-term fulfillment? These questions are not posed to shame, but to awaken. Awareness of our own patterns is the first crucial step toward reclaiming our autonomy. Yet, liberation is far from simple. The world we inhabit does not merely encourage the pursuit of pleasure, it normalizes it. Advertisements whisper that happiness lies in the next purchase, the next experience, the next indulgence. Cultural narratives equate success with accumulation, as though the weight of our possessions could somehow anchor us in a life of meaning. Erich Fromm, in To Have or to Be, warned of this very delusion. He argued that modern society has prioritized having over being, reducing the richness of human existence to a hollow fixation on ownership. In this paradigm, true joy is eclipsed by the illusion of acquisition, an endless cycle in which we seek external validation rather than internal fulfillment. But what then is the alternative? It begins with a transformation of perspective, from seeking pleasure to seeking purpose. This does not demand the rejection of joy, but rather an interrogation of its place in our lives. As psychologist Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, has demonstrated, the most meaningful lives are those built upon engagement, relationships, and a sense of purpose. Pleasure has its role, but it is not the foundation, it is merely a byproduct of a life well lived. Reflect for a moment. What brings you true joy? Not the fleeting pleasure that vanishes with time, but the profound satisfaction that arises from creating, connecting, and contributing. Can you identify an aspect of your life where you have unconsciously chosen transient gratification over enduring growth? As we continue this journey, we will explore tangible ways to sever the chains of the attention economy and reclaim the power of intentional living. But for now, hold this truth close. When left unchecked, the pursuit of pleasure does not lead to freedom, it leads to enslavement. To be truly free, we must learn to distinguish between what nourishes the soul and what merely numbs it. The path forward is not one of rejection, but of discernment. The answers to these questions will not be found in the next distraction, nor in the fleeting pleasures of modern indulgence. They reside in the quiet moments of self-reflection, where the unconscious reveals its hidden truths. Let us walk further into this journey, uncovering how we may reclaim not only our time and focus, but the very essence of our lives. What comes next will challenge everything you believe about happiness and freedom. For if there is one undeniable lesson from the insights of Aldous Huxley and modern psychology, it is this. Unchecked hedonism does not merely enslave individuals, it reshapes entire civilizations. Consider the concept of soft tyranny, a subtle yet insidious form of control. Alexis de Tocqueville, in his examination of democratic societies, warned that a time might come when people would surrender their freedoms not through coercion, but through the seductive embrace of comfort and security. This is precisely the dystopia Huxley envisioned in Brave New World, a world where compliance is not enforced by fear, but cultivated through pleasure and distraction. Now, turn your gaze to the present. Every day we are offered, or rather, conditioned to desire a life of ease, smart devices that anticipate our needs, applications that deliver instant gratification, a culture that celebrates convenience above all else. But while these innovations promise efficiency, they also cultivate dependence. The less effort we expend in engaging with life, the more power we relinquish to the unseen architects of these systems. Yet, here lies the most dangerous aspect of this reality. This dependence does not feel like enslavement. It feels like progress. It feels good. And that is precisely why it is so perilous. Huxley himself foresaw this. A really efficient totalitarian state would be one in which the all-powerful executive of political bosses and their army of managers control a population of slaves who do not have to be coerced because they love their servitude. What then is the nature of this servitude? It is the unconscious surrender of will, the slow erosion of self-determination under the guise of pleasure. The moment we cease to question, to resist, and to seek deeper meaning, we become passive participants in our own subjugation. True freedom is not found in a life of effortless indulgence. It is discovered in the struggle for conscious awareness, in the deliberate confrontation with our own shadows, and in the choice to pursue growth over gratification. The question we must now ask is, are we still the authors of our own destiny, or have we unknowingly allowed pleasure to write the script of our existence? The journey does not end here. We must go deeper. The path of true liberation, beyond the illusion of pleasure. Now, pause and reflect. How many of your choices are truly your own? How often do you act out of conscious intention? And how often are your desires shaped, if not dictated, by unseen forces? Algorithms, societal trends, and cultural expectations whisper in the background, steering you toward comfort, novelty, and distraction. When was the last time you willingly chose discomfort, not as a punishment, but as a path to transformation? This is not merely a personal dilemma. It is a crisis that reverberates across relationships, communities, and even the planet itself. Søren Kierkegaard, in his profound analysis of human existence, described this as the despair of the aesthetic life, a condition in which individuals chase pleasure and beauty at the expense of meaning and responsibility. He argued that true fulfillment could only emerge through an ethical life, a life of purpose, commitment, and higher ideals. The fork in the road. Which path do you walk? Imagine two roads before you. The first is smooth, paved with ease and comfort. It is the path of instant gratification, a life of entertainment and indulgence, requiring no real effort. It asks nothing of you except your silent compliance. The second road is rough, steep, and uncertain. It is a path of struggle, but also of transformation. It demands discipline, self-reflection, and a willingness to confront your own fears. Yet, at its end lies growth, deep connection, and a legacy worth leaving behind. Which road have you been walking? And more importantly, which road will you choose now? The psychology of freedom. Breaking the illusion. Modern psychology affirms Kierkegaard's insight. Studies have shown that those who prioritize intrinsic goals, personal growth, meaningful relationships, and contribution experience deeper satisfaction than those who chase extrinsic rewards such as wealth, fame, or social validation. Yet, society relentlessly pushes us toward the latter. Why? Because a culture built on consumerism depends on dissatisfaction. A truly content individual is a poor consumer. Advertisers do not merely sell products, they sell lifestyles, weaving the illusion that happiness is always just one purchase away. But here lies the fundamental truth. No external pleasure can fill an internal void. This is why so many, despite achieving all they once desired, remain plagued by an unnameable emptiness. As Carl Jung so incisively put it, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. The relentless pursuit of pleasure is often a distraction, an unconscious avoidance of the deeper, more demanding work of self-discovery. So, how do we escape this trap? The answer lies not in the next fleeting pleasure, but in the conscious pursuit of wholeness. True freedom does not come from indulging every desire, but from understanding and integrating the forces that drive us. It requires a shift, from passivity to awareness, from consumption to creation, from seeking comfort to embracing challenge. This is where our journey turns inward. Are you ready to awaken? Reclaiming true freedom. The power of purpose. Awareness is the first step, but it is not enough. To break free from the cycle of pleasure-seeking, we must take deliberate action, small, intentional steps that shift our focus from passive consumption to meaningful engagement. Start small, turn off notifications, set boundaries with technology. Choose deep work over shallow distractions. These may seem like minor changes, but in a world engineered to keep you distracted, they are acts of quiet rebellion. Now, ask yourself, what would your life look like if you prioritized meaning over momentary pleasure? What habits or mindsets would you need to change to walk the path of growth instead of instant gratification? The ultimate key to liberation. At the heart of this journey lies a profound realization. Real freedom does not come from indulging every desire, but from having the discipline to choose what truly matters. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." This is the cornerstone of true liberation. When we anchor our lives to a deep purpose, the fleeting allure of pleasure loses its hold. Purpose becomes our compass, guiding us through distractions and temptations toward a life of true significance, choosing the path of meaning. This is the final question to consider. Are you living as a free individual, or are you merely a consumer in a world that profits from your desires? The answer lies in your next choice. Will you take the easy road of comfort and distraction, or will you step onto the challenging path of meaning, discipline, and fulfillment? The choice is yours. The ultimate revelation, choosing a life of purpose. The lives of history's greatest visionaries, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr., were not shaped by comfort, but by their willingness to endure struggle for a cause greater than themselves. They remind us that the most profound joy does not come from indulgence, but from acts of service, creativity, and perseverance. But in a world full of distractions, how do we find our why? Viktor Frankl's 3 Sources of Meaning. In man's search for meaning, Viktor Frankl identified 3 ways we can cultivate a meaningful life. 1. Creating something of value. Whether it's art, ideas, or solutions, our creations leave a lasting impact. 2. Experiencing love and connection. Deep relationships provide fulfillment beyond fleeting pleasures. 3. Finding growth in suffering. Hardship, when embraced with the right mindset, becomes a pathway to wisdom and strength. Each of these forces us to look beyond immediate gratification and engage deeply with life. The questions that define your path. Ask yourself, what legacy do I want to leave behind? How can I use my strengths to contribute to others? When faced with difficulty, how can I transform it into an opportunity for growth? These questions are not easy, but they are transformative. Seeking their answers is the first step in breaking free from the cycle of distraction and stepping into a life of purpose. The final truth. The choice is yours. At the heart of this journey lies a simple but profound truth. A meaningful life is not something we stumble upon. It is something we choose moment by moment. So, what will you choose? Comfort or purpose? Distraction or impact? The world is waiting for your answer. Discipline, the key to true freedom. The pursuit of pleasure, while tempting, often distracts us from something far greater. The pursuit of meaning. Aristotle called this eudaimonia, a flourishing life rooted in virtue, wisdom, and intentionality, not fleeting gratification. But to live such a life, we must develop discipline. Why discipline equals freedom? Discipline is not restriction, it is liberation. It gives us the strength to choose long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. As Jocko Willink puts it, discipline equals freedom. When we master our impulses, we stop being prisoners of our desires and start becoming creators of our destinies. How to cultivate discipline. 1. Start small, stay consistent. Wake up a little earlier, reflect, or meditate. 2. Prioritize meaningful goals. Dedicate time daily to what truly matters. 3. Limit distractions, reduce mindless scrolling and passive consumption. These small acts of self-control may seem insignificant, but they create a ripple effect, gradually reshaping your life into one of purpose and fulfillment. The choice is yours. Will you live by impulse or by intention? Breaking free. The path to true fulfillment. The world is designed to keep us comfortable, distracted, and compliant. But true growth never happens in comfort zones. It is through embracing discomfort, whether pushing our limits, learning, or facing hard truths, that we become our best selves. Every small choice matters. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, you strengthen your ability to live with purpose. Every time you resist distractions, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. These small acts are rebellions against a system that profits from your complacency. Aldous Huxley's warning and your choice. Huxley warned of a world where pleasure controls us, where we trade freedom for comfort and potential for convenience. But he also believed in our power to resist. You can break free by choosing purpose over pleasure, discipline over indulgence, meaning over distraction. You reclaim your autonomy and step into a life of true fulfillment. Will you rise above? This is your moment. The chains may be invisible, but they can be broken. The path is steep, but it leads to greatness. Choose wisely, live boldly, inspire others.